Hello, YouTube. And it's time to get back to our Survivorman challenge on the Calmlands. And you might be wondering, why do I see a partially grown field of soy? What have I missed? Not a whole lot. We do have the field of soy that is now planted and fertilized and all that good stuff growing. We are in the month of June, and the reason why we're picking up here is I didn't want to subject everyone to having to watch me plow the same field again and again and again. I feel like that would very quickly get repetitive so far as the viewing content and all that. That said, I probably will have the entire harvest will be recorded and part of the video and all that in the future. Actually, it'll be this video in the later part. But stuff like the plowing and all that, I'll probably only revisit showing us plowing the same field when we get, like a massive upgrade in our plow, just so you can kind of see the difference, or a cultivator or whatever. But the reason we're back in this in-game day is it's soy selling time. For those who remember where we left off, when we did harvest our soy, we kept about half of it, give or take a little bit. We don't know the exact amount, but about half. To sell when the price is better, because we were forced to sell about half of it at a terrible price because I didn't have someplace I could store it for getting it to the better sale. Until about halfway through the field, we did get a much larger trailer. So now we're going to go ahead and see what our actual payout is for it. You can see the trailer's just chilling there, waiting for me to sell this whole time. It's definitely a reasonable thing to do in real life, to just leave a trailer exposed to the elements, full of your product, and, let hot and cold and humidity and all that just beat it up. Certainly would not degrade the quality of your product. Obviously, there's a lot of sarcasm there. But, with that, it is... Why am I brain farting on the button? It's C. That's what the button is. Now I get to see how much we get paid for about half of that trailer. So it looks probably gonna be like 11,000. Oh, about 14,000. So that's good news. So we made about 14,000 off of that. But yeah, so that's all we wanted to know. If I recall correctly, the other group, I think we were at about 10,000, maybe a little bit. No, it was 11,000. Yeah, so this was maybe slightly over half, but regardless, the point is that means what we would have made on the whole thing to begin with, had we done the sale all at once, is probably somewhere in the area of like 22, 23, maybe 24,000 for that one field. So that's not bad for early game and a Survivorman challenge to be able to knock out 24, 25,000 from one field's harvest. And the extra money you're seeing there is just, again, we do have the greenhouse rolling. So with that said, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be dragging this trailer back home for when it's harvest time, and we will be cutting here, and I'll be catching you when it's time to harvest the soy. And that should be what's going there, because that'll probably take up this episode to get like the next harvest, get the next sale all lined up, all that sort of stuff. But I would suspect what'll end up happening is once we do the sale, I'll get the stump grind. Well, it'll depend. It depends on how much we actually end up with. I could see getting the rollers, the lime, or the stump grinder. I think the correct thing would be getting where we can put down the lime to get the extra yield. But there is a very big temptation for me to get the stump grinder. So that way I can clear up the area, we can potentially extend this field a little bit, and also the possibility of maybe adding a second field. I'm just going to pull this all the way back here. Alright, because that'll sit there until we're ready for it. But more than likely we'll probably add a second field. Alright, we are back. We have got some nice soybean all here ready and grown and ready for harvest. And we are going to get rain again today, so we're not going to go and dilly-dally, because that needs to be taken care of right now. We did not maintain the harvester or gas it up after last time. I didn't have really the money to spare at the moment, because we weren't sure. So let's get that knocked out. So we are going to want to try to get our stuff. Am I not pulled forward far enough? There we go. Okay. We are going to want to try to get the field harvesting as quick as we can, because just like last harvest, if it starts raining, I got to kind of pause and just wait for the rain to clear up, because there is a pretty significant penalty to your harvest yield if you harvest while it's raining. The idea being that, you know, the stuff sticks to all the mechanics of the inside of your header and all that, and like the chutes and everything, so that ends up not actually getting where it needs to go. It all sticks together, so it probably gets ruined and all that. But the point is, harvesting in the rain bad. So we want to try and beat that rain as best we can. Now, this time, it'll be the first time I'll be actually handing the keys over to the AI. And the reason I'm going to be doing that is that way the harvester can just keep running the whole time. And then every time the harvester does a pass that I can pull up the trailer next to it, I'll pull the trailer up next to it and let it top off, so that the harvester can keep running the entire time, and it can make a bunch of money. So if we have as much luck this harvest as we did with the last one, we should be walking away with somewhere in the area of like 22,000 or something like that, if my math is right. So that should be putting us somewhere in the area of about $45,000, $46,000, not counting maintenance costs, so we'll just say 45. But that'll be pretty good stuff. That does put us in the realm of being able to buy the machine that can put down lime in addition to fertilizer. Now, between when I actually did the sale of our soy and getting the harvest here, I had many a really good sale show up, all of which I either couldn't afford or I couldn't logically do. Like, we had a really good planter show up, but it was a really good planter that needed way, way more horsepower than I could provide it, which means it wouldn't have run. Alright, so let's get the harvester doing its thing, and we've now handed the keys over. Oh, you can also see that I filled up the water again. And go get our trailer, because if I remember correctly, the harvester can go somewhere in the area of like 4 or 5 passes before it fills up. But we're going to need to do this. So now we're also going to get a feel of how bad this trailer is going to be for this tractor, because the tractor is not particularly powerful. It's like 160, 170 horsepower, if I remember correctly, which is nothing minute. But this is a really big trailer we're dealing with. So realistically, with the way that's going, I'm going to have to catch it on the other side of the path. So I am debating what we're going to actually buy with our money we're going to get out of this. I am very heavily considering a stump grinder. I did mention previously that if I take the stump grinder, it gives me a chance that I can work on grinding up all those stumps and clearing up that land. It would let me extend this field maybe 10% more before I start really encroaching on those rocks. And I don't want to get too close, because I am going to have to depend on the AI to do like we're doing right now, where from time to time I'm just going to hand the keys over to the AI to harvest the field. Otherwise, what'll probably end up happening is I'll also be able to put a field on the other side of the rocks. So if you see those rocks over there in the distance, I'll be able to put a field over there on the other side of the rocks. It'll be somewhere in the ballpark of maybe a fourth the size of this field, but with, you know, future room for expansion and all that good stuff. Is it missing a spot? Is that what I'm seeing right now? I'm pretty disappointed if it is missing a spot. But that's okay. If it does, I can just swing back and clean up whatever it misses after the fact. But with all that said, my intentions are, I think I'm going to try and put a production building or two near the rocks. I am leaning very heavily towards getting the oil, since I already have the equipment that I would need to accommodate that. So all I'd have to do is then, you know, just plant the sunflowers, and later on we can move over to, you know, making canola and some other stuff. And then that would spare me having to, like, keep this trailer just full of the stuff here. Alright. Yeah, so as you can see, the worker is slowly eating our money. It is the reason I cannot really get away with using the workers for the planter and the plow, is just with how small the diameter is on those. The width, I guess, technically. With how small the width is on those, it is one of those things that if I were to I think we're at 6 miles per hour is where I need to be at. I am the object that is currently blocking it. That's on me. Okay. There, we got our cruise control set. I don't think we actually skipped a spot there. I think that's just an aesthetic thing. That's fine. Yeah, and the reason this is a little bit tighter is because that header doesn't belong on that harvester. So I am dealing with the fact that I'm using a wider header than I should be. And so, like, it's not giving me much room to actually have the trailer centered it over that. But that's fine. Okay. But yeah, because we go and we get that set up where we have the oil, then it would be worth my while, once I get the oil production up and running, to switch off a soybean and instead just go with the oil. Because very much in Farm Sim, production lines is where the money's really at. With the production lines, you end up getting really good money. It's give or take about 1.5 times each production line you go into. So I know the wheat one pretty well. So if I take wheat as a crop and I sell that and it's got a value of 1, then I turn that into flour, it's got a value of 1.5 roughly. You know, and then I take that flour and then I make that into bread. That ends up getting to be like 2.75 or whatever. You get the idea. It just, the multipliers just stack really well. That said, I don't remember the production lines entirely for the oil, but you know, we'll just move things along. The big thing is taking canola or sunflower and then upping its value by 1.5 times. Usually is going to beat most just straight up cash crop. In Farm Sim. This isn't talking real life how any of this works. But what we'll end up doing is we'll end up getting the oil. I'll probably set up, get everything working there to... Not that we can overwhelm the oil mill, but to the point that we're kind of running it at capacity. And once we're able to run that at capacity, we can get the next production line up and running. And kind of that type thing. And just gradually expand. We'll eventually get animals involved in all that as well. But I do think we'll probably get the oil production up. Maybe after oil, we might move over to... Sorry, I just have to adjust the speed a little bit. But yeah, after that, we'll probably get to maybe going into flour and bread just because we will have most of the tools overlapping. That's kind of the way to go in these types of runs where you're very money-starved, is when you set up a production line going, okay, with a production line I already have, what is the minimum amount I can spend to bring up another production line? And that kind of thing. Or just to increase the base yield until the production line can no longer use it. Like I'm making too much sunflower for the oil mill to use in a year. But you get the idea. But I do think the next purchase is, I believe it's like 14,000, 24,000, something like that. Get the stump grinder, grind the stumps, get a bit more space out of our fields, because that won't add too much time to the amount of time I need to work the field. Yeah, that's not crop anymore. That's just a weird stripe that serves no purpose. It's just not putting down the thatch or whatever it kicks out of the back of it. But yeah, so you can see the tractor is struggling. We are full on gas and we are struggling to move it. I expect this to get really terrible. To the point, the last couple of passes, I might not be able to keep up with the harvester because we'll be struggling to keep the trailer going. That's okay. If the harvester does stop and fill up, it just means I do it all in one pass. But yeah, that's good. It's all really good. And just like last time, I'm going to just ditch this thing up in the place where we sell it. And we can worry about that on the other side. All right. So, we have finished harvesting the field. Now, there is a catch in that it did miss the ends of the field, but it looks pretty good. We've got the trailer about 80-ish% full. Which the interesting thing with that means if I do get the lime and or the rollers to improve my yield, we would barely be able to overfill that trailer with the one field before we extend it. I do still think it makes sense to pursue getting where we can put down the lime and or the tree stumps. I think the tree stumps is honestly the better first move. And the reason I say that is while it's unlikely to give me as much of an increase of yield as I would get from doing the lime and the roller, the catch is putting down the lime, I have to buy the lime and there's an expense to that. And that equates to about 15%, if I remember correctly. Not having the field limed is a 15% penalty to your yield, give or take. So, in this particular case, that probably wasn't worth my time. But in this particular case, if I extend the field by 10%, I don't have the expense of the lime or the extra equipment, and it's less expensive equipment. I can get maybe 10% more out of this field, and then the other field I could set up. That's going to give me more bang for my buck, and not cost me an additional process to do it. So, pretty sure that's going to be the move we make. And that should give us a little bit more money. And then we would probably go for, the fertilizer wagon to put down the lime. And I usually don't worry about the roller, but it wouldn't be a bad move. So now from here, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and drive the harvester up here, get it patched up, tuck it away for the season. And then what we'll end up doing is taking the tractor up there with the trailer, dumping the trailer in where we drop off the soy. We're not going to sell it right now because it's at a terrible price right now, but we will have it on standby until then, so that when it is time to sell, we can get, you know, max of dollar out of it. Actually, now that I think about it, we'll probably make more than I had originally counted for, because I was counting on the $9,000-$10,000 we made when it was at the worst price. So realistically, we're probably talking maybe 28,000. It's hard to tell, but the point is, we're probably gonna end the year somewhere in the area of like 45-50,000 from the soy. We'd put on another 5, 6, 7, 8,000 from the greenhouses, and so we're probably looking somewhere in the upper 50s, lower 60s thousands by the time everything's all said and done. So that's all going to be perfectly lovely and peachy. And if we're lucky, we'll catch something else on sale. I've probably run myself just about out of luck. That said, if the game wanted to throw more at me, I'm not going to say no. Like I had said, there's actually a bunch of really good things did come up between when I cashed out the soy and this in-game day. It was just the issue of I either couldn't afford to take advantage of the thing I'd want to take advantage of, or I could have bought the thing, but there was a massive investment that needed to happen before I'd be able to use it. Mostly it was around I would need a bigger tractor, because like there was a cultivator that was pretty decent. That one I probably could have made the ends meet, but the thing was I just would have needed a much, much larger tractor, and we didn't have any particularly good tractors show up. Alright. And honestly, the repair costs on this were basically negligible. So the entire running cost for the harvester was relatively minor. I didn't see how much we paid the employee. I can check at the end of the day. Alright. Yep, and so we have 78% full on the soy. And now you can see how bad it is, because I don't expect this to go well. I mean, honestly, going 6 is better than I was expecting. I'm expecting it to go back and forth from 1 and 2. But yeah, so this is the only objective I've got for this in-game day, is to get that harvested. What'll end up happening is, if I get the stump grinder, I think our next episode will be me, like, processing all the stumps and then extending the fields and creating the new field. I could see that being an episode within itself. And then more than likely, the plowing and fertilizing and seeding of both those fields, that I might, I don't know if that'll go into an episode, or we'll do like this one where we kind of bypass that and go right to harvest time. Yeah, this is what I was expecting. Some real stunning speed here. Anyways, let me get up there and I'll get back with you. Okay, so I got that all dropped off until the sale price goes up. A little bit of maintenance gas to do on the tractor, it's not particularly bad. But yeah, so this should all go relatively fine. We'll probably take a peek to see what the cost of things are. I'll probably advance time. Yeah, so running the tractor is a little bit more expensive. It's about $350 worth of maintenance. That's fine. But I'll probably go in advance of things until it'd be time to plant the soy again. And then, like, the day before I need to plant the soy, on make the decision of whether or not I'm getting the stump grinder or not. Because that'll be the point I have to make the decision, am I making the field larger with the plow or whatever? Because I want to plow it the day before I seed. Now, just to give you some context, so the entire harvesting process and what would have been the sale if I would have sold it right there took me about 40 in-game minutes, or 40 real-life minutes. So really not long, about 40 minutes to do that field. If we remember, when I was doing the carrots, between the harvesting, loading them up, and selling them, that was about 9 hours. So for a sale, we've cut off somewhere in the ballpark of 8 hours and 10 minutes between it's time to harvest and we got our money. The plowing in that doesn't really change much. The seeding is way faster. Probably about 3-4 times as fast. But yeah, you get the idea. We've massively cut down on the time of labor. And so while technically I'm not making as much per harvest, we are making up for it by saving myself real-life human hours. But yeah, so my plan for this is, yeah, so your needs lime and rolling. But yeah, so my plan from here is I will get back with you on either when I go and I get the stuff to get rid of the tree stumps, or when it's time to sell the soy. Whichever happens first, and we'll pick up with there, and we'll get stuff going. I'll probably, if I go and do the tree stumps, I'll probably also show plowing the new field so far as making it. Because that one will be, you know, a whole field being plowed, since it will be the creation of that field. Versus this field, I'll show, like, plowing the new part to extend it, and then, like, the rest of it just cleaning up I won't bother showing. Anyways, thank you again for showing up and watching. I do hope to see you in the next one, and good night.